In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
All right, Doug, thank you so much for that detailed report. And as we further discuss the battle for the Sun Belt and the race to the White House, we want to bring in political expert and author of the Winsome Candidate, Dan Snell. Dan, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Jeane, great to be with you and your Fox listeners.
Thank you so much. Happy Thursday to you as well. So, look, we're talking about the battle of the Sun Belt, and we're not talking about sports, because I know for some out there, they hear about Sun Belt and they might think about the Big 12 and even Conference USA. We're talking about politics this morning. Dan, I want to ask you, what does the battle of the Sun Belt look like? What does the race to the White House look like this Thursday morning?
Yeah, the race to the White House, the race to sit behind this desk here behind me, is one that really we're in the days that anything can happen. You know, right now we're talking about the battle for the Sun Belt, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia. And what happens is those states, we see the polls, a lot of it has to do, getting back to a sports analogy, momentum. Right now, momentum is wearing blue. Right after the assassination, the momentum was gigantic red. Donald Trump had the country in his hand. That week after his assassination and his final speech, he clearly was ahead. Then everything changed. And now in those states, Arizona, Nevada particularly, there's going to be some interesting races, but anything can happen. You know, we're 68 days out from the election. So many things can happen.
You set up this next question perfectly, Dan. I know many people are looking at these campaign stops, but one key thing many of the voters want to hear is this debate. We're looking ahead to this Trump-Harris debate, and I know there are a lot of contentious items that either side might want, but for you, what would a great debate look like? What does either candidate need to do to come out on top of that debate? Because if we look back in recent months, we can say that Trump-Biden debate was really hard to look at.
Yeah, that was a tough one. And on September 10th, it was a great opportunity for both sides, truly. For Donald Trump, I think if he can do what he needs to do, and that's pivot from his standard style and rhetoric, so to speak, if he can pivot and focus on the issues, focus on the policies, focus on the things that he knows that people want to hear about and like, and stay away from the rhetoric of any name calling or comments, then he wins the day. He wins the debate. For Kamala Harris, if she can keep that enthusiasm and that spark and some positive, and you know, as a former prosecutor, she's able to handle herself, although some people say, can she handle herself? I think she's probably better equipped than most think. Of course, we'll learn tonight in an interview on CNN with her and Vice President candidate Tim Walz. We'll see how they do tonight, which will be another one that could shift that momentum even after today or tonight. So either candidate can be successful in the debate, and it's going to be great to watch. I think there'll be more people tuned in to that debate than there were to that original debate with Biden and Trump.
Yeah, and then you raise a good point. You know, this interview with Harris and Walz, very odd for some of the viewers because she's doing it alongside her running mate. People were wanting to hear from her and her alone. We've heard from Walz. Walz does not shy away from the media in speaking out, but this is pretty much her first interview. I know several media outlets have been requesting to speak with her one-on-one. Do you think it's strategy on her part to do this interview alongside Walz, or do you think it's maybe also the smartest thing to do?
Yeah, it was an interesting choice, and it could either be a big win or perhaps be a stumble, because if it looks like she has to have him by her side to make decisions or make comments, then that hurts her. However, he does have that, that folksy likability. Well, an expert once told me you got to be likable, believable to be electable, and Tim Walz is definitely a likable individual in his Midwestern Nebraska. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska, actually about 60 miles from where Tim Walz grew up, but he has that likability that people are attracted to. And in some of the rural areas in America, that could be a big difference.
Absolutely. A great analysis, Dan Snell. A pleasure having you here with us on Live Now. And look, I know you're the author of The Winsome Candidate. Who do you see being the winsome candidate in this election? Is there someone that's standing out to you, someone that's campaigning the right way, someone that's doing what we need in 2024?
Yeah, I think I think America is hungry and ready for a fresh start, a new look. We've gotten into this pattern of pointing at the other side, both parties pointing at the other side. Look how bad they are, and that's how you should vote for me. I think a winsome candidate, and what I write about is a return to public service where we say, I love the place that I call home, and here's what I'm going to do to make this place I call home better. So to be a winsome candidate, you have to focus on the areas that are touching the hearts, and as Ronald Reagan said, around the kitchen table, touching the things that matter most to the American people. And I think the winner who comes through the finish line here to get to this desk will be the one that proposes a more positive, upbeat, we can do this, American, I'll do this for you, and here's how type of candidacy.
Dan Snell, truly a pleasure. Those two candidates on the left side of the screen, former President Donald Trump and VP Harris, vying for America's vote this morning. Thank you so much for joining us bright and early here on Live Now to talk politics. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Great to be with you. Stay
Thank you
winsome.
so much.